Thank you, Chair McGovern and Ranking Member Cole. And I know there's questions about why are we here? Why is this bill before us? And I guess my answer to that would be because the only thing that's certain about this place right now is uncertainty. I actually agreed to let this bill go on suspension, but I was told that the majority decided it needed to go on a rule because you didn't think it had enough votes to pass on suspension. I can't guarantee how all Republicans are going to vote on a bill that was passed out of the Senate last night and given to us today. So I don't think there's a lot of disagreement about the bill or the importance of it. It is undoubtedly important to many congressional districts across the nation. It's important to many of you sitting here today. And I'm supporting the bill. But I would like to talk about how the process is broken and how it really, really needs to change. You know, we've come to a point in Congress where we shove everything off until the last minute, and members on both sides of the Capitol scramble during the month of December to attach whatever they can to Christmas tree legislation. Bills are passed at the last minute without even having a hearing in committee, and bills like the one before us today get shoved at us by the Senate without the House having an equal opportunity to give input. This is not what the American people deserve. They deserve legislation that has been vetted. They deserve legislation that has been through the committees of jurisdiction, and they deserve legislation that has been equally considered in both chambers. I will say there's a bright spot about this bill being in rules today, and that is that it's not being shoved into the omnibus. Like so many other things have been shoved into the omnibus. I wish that we could have a much more vetted process on a lot of the other authorizing bills in the omnibus. But if I want to take a positive away from this piece of legislation, it's the fact that it's not in the omnibus and it's going through some semblance of regular order. During end-of-year negotiations, Republicans came to the table in good faith. We offered several compromises to our Democratic counterparts, such as shortening the reauthorization of national heritage areas from 15 to 7 years. Instead of continuing to work with us into the next Congress, the Senate has instead chosen to ram this bill through the House in the final days of session. We even allowed a short-term one-year NHA reauthorization to ride in the omnibus package so that we could avoid this situation. We gave this the green light so that we could give NHA certainty and continuity for another year while we worked in a bipartisan and bicameral manner to fix the problem. Instead, we're now spending the final days of this session rushing to finish this legislation that, again, has not been fully vetted. I know there are many members on both sides of the aisle that deeply care about national historic areas, but regular order exists so that issues of national importance such as this can be handled appropriately without any unintended consequences. The truth of the matter is we do not know if this legislation will have unintended consequences on existing NHAs. We do not know if the new standards put forth in this legislation will make it more difficult to pass future NHAs. Not knowing should be unacceptable to us. But because our process is broken, this is where we find ourselves, and we will find ourselves here again unless something changes. While I support this legislation today, I want to be clear that when I'm afforded the opportunity to take over the Natural Resources Committee chairmanship next year, that the process will be different. We will hold hearings and markups on legislation, and if any member on the House or the Senate thinks they will be able to sneak legislation past us in the dead of night on the final days of session, they will be in for a rude awakening. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you.